Keeta, JASMY, and Onyx coin all have one really major thing in common right now, and I wanted to go over one, what that is, and two, how each of them are dealing with this in their own separate ways, some better than others, admittedly. So I want to talk about all of that today. We've got a whole bunch to go over. So first off, let's just go on and dive in, and let's take a look at some of the charts and see what we're actually looking at in a little bit more of a closer light. So first off, if we go take a look at Keeta, we can see nice little consolidationary pattern. Getting towards the bottom, we haven't necessarily bounced off the exact bottom of this trend line, but we're definitely getting there. We can also see something very similar here with JASMY as well. Consolidationary structure, a little bit more of like a descending wedge rather than just like a pure wedge that we're seeing here out of Keeta. And then if we look at Onyx coin, we're seeing again more of kind of a descending wedge as well, but again a lot of consolidation. All three of these have seen extended periods of consolidation here, and they're both, or all three of them, are really just kind of waiting for a breakout. We're going to come back and take a look at all of these in a bit more detail, because each of the three coins is doing something individually to try and to counteract, or not counteract, but like get something going to break out of this consolidationary period. I personally think two of them are primed to do that sooner rather than later, and then one I do think may have some struggles there. So we'll take a look at that here in just 1 second. Before we do that though, I did just want to go over the trades that we have been kind of monitoring over the past several days. We can see Arrow, Epic, and Linnea all just kind of free riding at this point. Linnea's actually seen a really strong move to the upside. We were actually at 266% up here now, so we'll just kind of keep tracking that, but Linnea is moving quite nicely. And then if we look at Epic and Arrow have both actually come down fairly substantial amounts, both under 100%, actually closer to about 50% now at this point. So, but this, I mean, this is what we expected, right? You can see I actually moved my stop loss a little bit further up instead of being at break even. I'm looking more for this kind of break of structure on the hourly. That's essentially what I'm looking for. But you can see we kind of made it up here to a high of about 137 and have since bled all the way back down to 126. So kind of what expected there. We're seeing a similar type of thing for Epic. Zebek is also coming back a little bit, but again, still in the green. ICP is just barely flipped from green to red, down about 2.5% here. And then we also can see here Ondo coming back a little bit as well, but still up about 18%. Again, you know, we're kind of looking to hold this one for the long haul. This is a very small position for me, so I really don't actually care too much about what happens here unless we actually start to hit some of these take profit levels, at which point we'll be seeing multi-hundreds, even thousands of percent gains, just because this is such a small amount of money relative to kind of the total portfolio. So those are kind of the plans there. I want to dive back in, leading off with Keeta, and discuss some of the key things that we were seeing with Keeta. An absolutely mind-blowing number of wallets somehow are already in the Keeta ecosystem, which is crazy stuff. So we're going to go take a look at that first. The first thing though, as we can see, we're just going to refresh on the chart here a little bit. We have had some nice breaks as far as about $1.70, and then we have kind of been pushed into this consolidationary type of structure. We are kind of bouncing sort of off the bottom here, not exactly quite the bottom, but you can see we're kind of sitting within this structure quite well. Now, if we look at the Keeta, a couple of updates in the Keeta ecosystem, we can see here that they're actually kind of starting to advertise kind of like their mainnet launch, which I think is very interesting. You can see we've got a little bit of a soundbite here from Tai Shank, who is the CEO of Keeta. This is something that we're going to be watching very closely, because we've actually potentially seen some leaks coming in from Keeta that, in my opinion, are just absolutely wild numbers. So if we go take a look at this, we want to take a look here and see that there is a Keeta news link. So first we have the picture number one is a URL to a news article, which yields a 404, which means it may have been published too early potentially. And then number two is a tweet found that coincides and shares more information from the article. Basically, the two key numbers to take away from here are there are 235 million wallets with non-zero balances. This is well over double the total number of users in Coinbase. Just to give you kind of like a general sense of how many people that is, over double what we have in Coinbase currently, and then about 42 million wallets of those with transactions executed. So again, a massive number of people interacting within the Keeta network already. Keep in mind, Keeta is not actually on mainnet yet. It is only on testnet. So the fact that we are seeing 235 million wallets already have some amount of like activity in them is absolutely crazy. We also could see here 42 million of those, because the other thing too is like, they could just populate a whole bunch of dead wallets, I suppose, and then like, just to kind of to pump numbers, which could still be a vast majority of this potentially. Again, we don't know that for sure. But then there's the other thing that's nuts though, is there is a figure that includes 42 million wallets that have already executed transactions. So at least 20% of these, or close to 20%, have already like interacted within the Keeta testnet ecosystem and are, ideally going to be fairly well positioned going into the Keeta mainnet. So really, really, really interesting stuff. And the thing that I think is quite interesting about this whole process is notably the network will go live not as a blank slate, but with already, essentially these wallets holding non-zero balances, which means if you have been on the Keeta testnet, it's very, very likely that you've actually already kind of done some good for yourself with that Keeta mainnet as it goes live. So very interesting things here. The other thing though I did want to show kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum here, with a lot of really bullish and really interesting news coming out from Keeta, is JASMY. JASMY unfortunately really has not actually seen anything particularly impressive happening for the past several months. One of the things that is the most shocking to me is the fact that the last post wasn't even an actual post from JASMY. It was a repost, and it was on June 26th. Prior to that, the last post that JASMY has actually made is May 26th. This is almost 4 months, a third of a year from now, and we haven't seen anything coming from JASMY. In my opinion, there is no excuse for this. I don't exactly know what the JASMY team is doing. If you do look at the Junction AI account, it is a little bit better. Like it's a bit more active. But yeah, I don't really understand what's going on with JASMY. And so I'm going to make a claim that may be relatively unpopular, but I do still think that JASMY has some ways to run and some ways to go. Just because if we do look at the JASMY chart, we'll come back to this tweet here, but if we do look at the JASMY chart, you can see, at least historically, of course, right? You can see that there's some major moves that can happen out of JASMY, and they can happen almost immediately. I mean, these are just pure parabolic runs going on. And then of course the sell-off on the other side is quite aggressive, but the lead up to it is like completely parabolic. So I do still think that there is the possibility of this happening for JASMY. You can see here we've been in a multi-month kind of consolidationary period here. So I do think that JASMY still can see something like that, but they're going to have to do something like, I don't think it's going to move necessarily on their own accord is what I'm trying to say. I think they're going to need kind of the market to do it for them. And so that's why I'm kind of relegating JASMY from one of my more higher conviction utility plays, frankly, into more of like a meme coin. Obviously they have stuff that they say they can do, and maybe they will do them eventually at some point, but at least for right now, I think it makes more sense to view JASMY as a meme coin because of all of the community and the hype and the very strong kind of, I guess, community built around it. I think it still does have a long way that it can go, but at least as far as fundamental updates, things that we're getting from the team, we're not really seeing almost any of that so far. And so I do think it makes more sense to kind of put more of the priority on it as a narrative and as kind of more of a mimetic play, rather than actually like they might build something that does something here soon. So we'll have to see. Of course, this is all just kind of my opinion. Some of you may agree with that, some of you may disagree with that, but at least from just what we've seen recently, particularly from the team, again, they control the Twitter account. It is not hard to post a tweet. Trust me, I do it every day. I don't understand why it's been 4 months without posting. So this is one of the things that is kind of causing me to say some of that. So moving along though, I want to take a look at Onyx Coin and XCN, because the thing is with Onyx Coin is this is one that really is quite interesting, but I want to do a little bit of like a good news sandwich, right? Good news with Keeta, good news with Onyx, maybe not the best news going on here with JASMY and what we've seen kind of recently from their chart. But if you look at Onyx Coin, it's a little bit hard to draw this chart because as you can see here, the highs are very, very high and they don't necessarily correspond with anything else that we have seen from the structure. But even still, like we are kind of we're kind of neglecting a very, very strong wick here, which isn't maybe necessarily the best idea. But overall, this kind of shows what I'm looking to show anyway, which is we can see continuous kind of lower highs as we go. And then we're seeing not necessarily higher lows per se. I mean, we kind of at the macro level have higher lows, but we are still kind of generally just seeing like, I would say a flat level of resistance here. And this is a very, very long level of consolidation. So ideally we do see a breakout coming here soon. If we were to use this one as the bottom line, we're basically already past it or towards the very end. If we're using this one as kind of the bottom line or like the wedge line, then we're getting very close. And if we were to draw more of like a trend line going from here to here to here, again, getting very, very close here. So again, not a perfect line, but you guys probably get it. Very, very close to the end of the wedge here. So I don't necessarily think that this is the correct structure to draw just because we haven't really seen that strong of a wedge form. We're not really seeing it like respect the structure very much. We're kind of sort of trying to fit the lines to a best fit, which again is not a good thing to do. So I don't necessarily want to put that picture in your mind just because of what we're seeing right now. But as you can see, it's fairly clear that we are seeing some level of consolidation. It's just not a super clean level of consolidation like we're seeing out of other things. So that's just another thing that I want to take a quick look at here, is that the consolidation continues for all of these coins, and they are getting to a point where we should be seeing a breakout soon-ish. Again, you never know for sure. It is the crypto market, but at least soon-ish, I think, is kind of what we could be seeing from a lot of the stuff here. So moving along, though, I wanted to show you that what could be a major catalyst to send Onyx coin mooning and send this breakout here, and that is the launch of Goliath. So Goliath is just under, I think, 12 days out. I actually can just click it and we'll see. Yeah, it's 11 days and 15 hours away, or maybe potentially sooner, before Onyx Coin is releasing Goliath. So for those of you who don't know what Goliath is, again, this is actually something that I had a decent bit of a hard time finding. So I did use the powers of Grok to help, which was really nice. Even Grok was thinking for basically almost a minute to find all of the different things on Goliath. But you can see here it's a next-gen layer 1 blockchain developed by the Onyx protocol, the organization behind Onyx Coin. Now, again, just to kind of speed up and go through this is a very large and kind of expansive thing. If you're wanting to read it, I guess just pause and kind of read through on the video, and then you can get it started again. But what you can see here is it targets throughput comparable to legacy systems like Visa, up to 24,000 transactions per second, with projections of up to 100,000 transactions per second for cryptocurrency transactions, while ensuring low fees, near instant finality within seconds, and interoperability with existing networks. Core features are kind of all these different things. And then the relation to Onyx Coin is essentially XCN serves as Goliath's native token with a fixed supply of 48.4 billion, circulating supply of 33.5 billion. It powers staking for consensus participation, pays transaction fees, enables governance, all this type of stuff. So again, what we could see here is the project includes incentives like Onyx Points program on the layer 3 XCN ledger. Part of me wonders if they're going to be kind of moving away from this layer 3 and into kind of this layer 1 that is this Goliath status. So we can also go here and look at the roadmap and launch status. You can see essentially kind of the main thing here is testnet deployment is in Q3. This is essentially, I think, what we're seeing kind of that countdown for. And then Q1 of 2026 is this mainnet launch. So this is one thing that I do find very, very interesting, is that there are so many crypto projects kind of on the race to find this next gen blockchain trilemma solving thing. Obviously, XCN's trying to do it. XRP is trying to sort of do this with XRP Ledger. Caspa's trying to do it. Keeta's trying to do it. All the things are trying to do this, and it is going to be a massive, it's going to be a massive market, which whoever solves it. So I do, of course, think that they are kind of prioritizing winning this correctly, because it's going to be incredibly valuable, but it's going to be incredibly hard to see like who's actually going to win this thing, right? So I'm just trying to keep my eyes open to all of the different options, make sure I'm positioned accordingly, and then just kind of going from there. If you did find the information in this video valuable and want to continue to kind of, you know, stay up to date with all the different altcoins and things like that that are going on in the market, feel free to hit that like and subscribe as well as that notification bell. And of course, if you have any comments or anything that you want me to see, drop those in the comment section below. I do like to read and reply to all of those. So thank you all so much for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.